Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron, Patrick, and Johann Goree. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ask the Accountant. Today is episode number 26 on the 17th of April, 2023, and we've got a great show lined up for you today. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Johann Goree. Johann, you want to tell everyone how your week has been?
Good morning, Aaron. Yeah, theoretically, extremely expensive week for me. I got a new client, mentioned that new client to Claire, my wife, and that has inspired a very large purchase, but I'll tell you more about that later. So theoretically, very expensive. But you know what? We actually had a really good week in the practice. So my ops manager was off on holiday for the week. So I was expecting to be very, very heavily involved in the practice on a day-to-day basis for the whole week while she was away. And you know what? I think I did it in about 15 hours in the week. So, you know, spotted a few more areas I can make some adjustments and improvements on. But yeah, getting to that dream solution of only needing to spend a couple of hours in practice a week, which is nice.
Love it. And it probably thanks to Client Engager by the sounds of it. It's
a huge amount of it is the workflow processes and stuff that we've got in Client Engager. Yeah. So huge benefit.
Good. For me, it has been a absolute crazy week. So I don't know about you, Johann, but when you start looking at niching down into clients, I don't know if you do the same, but I go all in. So we've got a couple of kind of niches that we don't advertise massively, but we are very much on the ascendancy in terms of helping clients and making sure they get the most out of our services. So e-commerce, for example, reselling platforms, them sort of things has been huge for us. R&D has been another big one. But we're starting to look at films and creative film industry and how we can help them in terms of making sure that they maximize the reliefs available and being able to help them. And it's a really, it's one of those areas where they don't make very much money at the beginning and not all of them succeed. But when they do succeed, there's a nice little opportunity for them. So we want to try and help them in those early stages for them. So to do that, one of my clients invited me onto the film set itself. So I've been in London. I've been doing a night shoot in the middle of London in front of the West Ham Stadium as it was going through. I was able to do another scene with them, or because I was actually working with them, as in helping them, with their accounts in terms of making sure their process and systems were okay, and also helping every one of those 80 odd people at one point on the set. Like making sure they know what their accounting is going to be and everything else, and getting my name out there and everything else. It worked really well. The same old question of I only earned £12,000, so I don't need to do a tax return, right?
No, no matter what the industry is, does it? Same questions.
Exactly. So yeah, it was real big privilege to help them out and everything else. And I got my acting debut as well. So all this time as being an accountant, what's one of my biggest things that I've learned? I've learned from being able to walk from one side of the room to the other side of the room and sit down and start using a computer. And that was my role. That was my acting debut as I walked past.
You're going to be on Netflix.
I don't know what it is yet, but I walked past the person, sat down, started playing around with my little computer. So yeah,
wow,
that was my acting debut in there. So yeah, it's been a really, really eventful week. And also, QuickBooks has released the reset has been announced, so everyone's getting excited for that one, which basically means that I've got to up my game and get that ready to release and ready to go. And with that, it's all about accounts production and pro tax training as well. So it's been a very, very, very busy week, but yeah, really, really worthwhile, I think, going forward. So yeah, and also a big welcome to everybody. Hopefully everybody's had a great week. We've got Ashley in, 26 episode already. Yep, absolute flying through. We can't believe it. And yep, I imagine yours is even higher number now with your 15-minute podcast as well.
I've enjoyed listening to Ashley's podcast. However, one slight, I think he needs to rename it. It's the 15 minutes with Ashley. And I've yet to hear a podcast that lasts only 15 minutes. Like the dog looks at me thinking, why are we still walking? It's like, well, it's a 15-minute podcast. Half an hour later, I'm still walking the dog.
That's his brand though, isn't it? The 15-minute guy.
Yes.
I mean, either he stops talking or he has to rebrand. So gotta love how our partners give us the drive there, Johann. Yep.
By emptying the bank account, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Looking forward to learning more about this expensive week. Paul, thank you very much for coming along. Good morning to you too, sir. Hope you're having a good week. Johann's there as well. Morning. Sorry,
I'm not.
I was reading Johann there. Leanne's here as well. Hey, Leanne. Good morning. Great to see you. Andy's here as well. Good morning. Wait a minute. Since this change of time zone, did you remember to change your clocks there, Andy? I think that's the question everyone's asking. But great to see you there, Andy. Early, it's now half term is over. And I'm about to run over shortly. I've got to stay on brand. There we are. So yeah, the 15 minutes guy is allowed to go longer. It's official. It's all been approved.
It is great content, so I don't mind at all.
Fantastic. We highly recommend everyone has a link, has a watch. And if you use our links, we'll provide a minute. We have now a link to that podcast as well, and get yourself over there. Wonderful. All right. So as always, let's just do the normal stuff so everyone knows we are live to the nation at our normal time of 8:30 a.m. and we go live on our podcast solution of choice on a Wednesday. So if you are listening to the podcast on the Wednesday, please use the link below, as I mentioned. I've fallen over, and I've just put the link in the chat as well if you want to ask us a question at any time and we can answer it. So today we've got some really interesting elements to talk about. We've got Libya unfortunately closing. We're going to talk about what that means. We've got KPM adding some new functionality. We've got some LinkedIn updates that I think everyone should be aware of. I'm sure Ashley himself would be probably the best person to have brought on the show for that one, actually, if I'm completely honest. We've got a public service announcement about the Accounting Excellent Awards. Intuit going for a global store, and we've got some other little niblets of news to go forward. So let's start off the show, Johann, with unfortunately the first part of the show, which is all about Libya closing. You said it off air, didn't you? I think you're right here. We should have really saw the writing on the walls last week when we noticed that the CEO had stepped down and moved on. But yeah, it's another one bites the dust, unfortunately, isn't it? Just to give everyone some update of what actually happened. Libya, who was one of the players in the market in terms of going to all of your shows. So if you went to Accountex or Digital Accounting Show, I'm sure you would have seen him. The one that you probably brings out more than anything is that orange branding. That's probably what you know them by more than anything else, because they were very hot on that orange, nice little branding, weren't they? And they released the following statement. Dear partner and customer, it's with a heavy heart that we're informing you that Libya UK will be closing. With the current market context, we made the decision to focus on our home market, which is France, where we have an established business. It's become clear that with the market conditions, we won't be able to develop the product at the pace we want, and for us, wouldn't be able to give the Libya experience you deserve. So it was a payment platform, wasn't it? I think from what I saw, it was very much suited to syncing with Xero, as we've kind of seen a lot, haven't we, where the app integration is much stronger. But there was definitely an opportunity for you to link to others, like QuickBooks and everything else that can accept the API. It was a crowded market, unfortunately, there wasn't. I think maybe that was one of the problems. What's your thoughts on it, Johann?
It's a crowded market, but I also think it's an undervalued market. Undervalued or overvalued? I don't know. So the reason, let me explain my thinking, right? We've got people like Xero who stand outside Westminster with a big blue sign with white writing on saying late payments cost small businesses this much money in the last year or something.
Yeah.
However, most small businesses don't seem to value the idea of credit control and stuff. And when I then speak to those small businesses, most of them are like, oh, well, I don't need to pay my bills manually. I've got direct debits, like go cardless. Like during COVID, every single one of my client suppliers basically went go cardless and all went direct debit. So they don't really need help paying their bills because it's happening automatically, which I know doesn't happen in the US. So I know there's a huge market out there for that because it's a very manual process in the US. I think France might be the same. I think it's still very traditionally manual payments rather than
Okay, that makes sense.
automated through go cardless and direct debits tools. So yeah, it's whilst I think we all see there's a problem with credit control and late payments in the UK. No one seems to have really worked out how to explain that and justify the value of their software to the market of small businesses. Like, how long's Chaser been going?
Yeah.
And to be honest, they were very expensive for what they did, and now they've gone into invoice financing as a revenue generator. Like, yeah, it's a real tough niche to break into, and I think the software companies they think they've got the solution, and I don't think they really understand the pain point. Like, if customers are struggling to chase money or to pay their bills, it's probably not going to help that we then introduce an expensive bit of software on top. They'd rather do it manually.
I agree, and I think, unfortunately, with these software, they live and die on the APIs that the bigger, the financial management solutions or bookkeeping software, as we like to call it, provide for them. It is what those softwares are prepared to let see and let interact with, because ultimately, like, all of these solutions live and die on how easy you can go from the bookkeeping solution or the FMS to whatever solutions it's going to be. And if there's friction between it, that's where the problems are. And from a QuickBooks point of view, as a QuickBooks platform or an accountancy firm, we always have that problem, don't we? That's one of the biggest things we are banging the drum about, in terms of we need to allow software providers like Libya, like the ones that are still going, we need to allow them to have better connectivity so that we can have a more seamless solution. I assume, or I know, that the Xero side of things is better, but it's still not perfect, is it? And it's still an added friction for them. They've still got to sign up. They've still got to log into it. I was using what software was it? Is it Swift? Swift's one of the Xero only ones, isn't it? I think it's just called Swift. And just to get into that software, it seemed to be a lot of hoops to jump through from a Xero point of view. So yes, they offer more connections and more options, and they're a little bit more app friendly, but they're still not quite got the idea of, just being able to launch it from the app sort of idea and get it straight in there. And I think that's one of the problems we've got, because I know Libya tried to sell or tried to demo the product to us, and it was very much like, this is what it looks like, this is fantastic, but here are the caveats to how we're going to get to this position. And you're having to go through the solutions and everything else. So I feel like that's one of the biggest problems. And I think also, I can't remember if Libya had this or anything, but they didn't have any of those wow factors that we have seen with solutions lately, like OCR technology, being able to read those invoices and let us know and automatically know where the payments need to go to, reading what the bank details are, reading those sort of things. Like, they're those wow factors that I think need to be in place for those businesses to really stand out going forward. So it's a tough one, and we hate to see software fail, but I don't know what else can be done for these sort of ones here if people like ourselves aren't adapting to it, aren't drawn to it because of the limitations, because of the thing. I don't know what else they could have done to survive in this situation.
Yeah, I think what this is probably another real good case of is software's coming from other countries to the UK, thinking, it's the same problem, same pain points, same challenges, and realizing pretty quickly, in this case, like 12 months in, actually, whilst we might have the same challenges, pain points, and problems, the solution to those pain points and problems perhaps isn't the same as what it was. because let's face it, Libya went in hard on this. Like, they had some of the biggest stands at Accountancy and stuff. They had Glenn, is it Foster? Is his surname? Or was it Glenn Turner?
Foster, yeah.
Glenn Foster as the CEO, fresh from Xero. Like, he can't have had a small wage packet. Like, they have spent a lot of money to break into the UK market. So for them to pull out just over 12 months later, yeah, I don't think they really understood whether their solution was the solution to the pain point we've got in the UK, or the value perception. Like, and as you say, it's all of these different challenges. Like, QuickBooks doesn't store bank account details for supplier invoices, so that's not on the API for them to pull in, which means we've got to do a workaround. Clients hate having to go through AML checks to set up a holding bank account for the money to move into, to then be sent out once we've authorized it, or once they've authorized the email we've sent them. Like, it's not the slick process. Now, that's not the software's fault. That's not Libya's fault. That is the UK legislation for anti-money laundering, with setting up rules. Like, Comma struggled with it because, Teleroo technically struggle with it. Like, as soon as someone tells me, oh, your client's going to need to go through another AML check to be able to set this up, because ultimately they're setting up a new bank account, that solution's dead in the water, because my clients don't want to go through the hassle. We've got to provide a really slick experience for them. And the providers are coming in, and the solutions aren't slick enough, not through any fault of their own, but because of the APIs of QuickBooks, the APIs of Sage, or whatever it is, and the UK legislation. I think they come in and they misunderstand that, yes, you're solving a pain point, but actually by doing that, you're creating 3 or 4 other pain points that combined doesn't solve. It outweighs the pain of the pain point you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough industry out there, and it's a tough niche to be able to break into. So yeah, it's a shame, but I can't say I'm overly surprised.
That's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, and I think, in defense to kind of, I suppose, what QuickBooks' idea would have been, because we keep kind of saying that their APIs, that one of the failings here, they did at one point have this whole dream of, well, let's own it all ourselves. Let's create that QuickBooks bank. Let's go through down that route. I feel like now that it's pretty much, writings on the wall that QuickBooks bank is never going to happen, that's when they've got to start actually opening up these APIs now. I think they've got to admit that that's happened. Otherwise, we're going to see more of these happening, because we have all these great ideas. We're a big push of Cresco, aren't we? Like, we love the platform, we love the solution, but even they've got to have funky workarounds to make it work. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be quality solutions, quality products that are going to help clients and going to help us sell services for our clients and help them, fix pain points that they have. We should just have that as an option and not have to fight these solutions and these issues and these workarounds. That's not how it should be. So fingers crossed, maybe this is another wake-up call, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, but I don't know if that's ever going to be enough.
I think the biggest problem with some of these bigger softwares is just their rate of development. Like, they've all got these big dreams, but their rate of development is just so painfully slow. Like, I'm acutely aware that our advantage for client engagement in the market at this moment in time is the fact that we are knocking out developments quickly and robustly. Like, they're not breaking, they are fully functional, they are excellent developments. And then you look at all of our competitors who are releasing one a year, and they're not really ones that the users want. So yeah, like, QuickBooks have got huge ambitions, but their rate of development means that those ambitions are no longer relevant once they get around to developing them.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth, isn't it? And the banks aren't helping either, are they? We come back to it time and time again. Like, I'm just kind of looking through some of the comments and stuff. Like, one of the Libya's biggest problems in the UK was, the fact that the challenger banks weren't allowing bulk payments, etc., etc. And it's the same story, and we keep coming back to the same stories, don't we?
Yeah. So Starling doesn't allow bulk payments. Like Cresco does standing order function, but not every open banking bank allows the bulk payment. The standing order feature through open banking API. In fact, just on Friday, I was chatting to a self-assessment client. Fantastic. She's proactive. Oh, just how do you want me to send the bank statements? Like, well, we'll send you a link to Analytics. Brilliant. Thank you. Oh, that's explained how it works. Oh, that's brilliant. That'll be quick and easy. Thank you. Sent her the link. She said, I bank with Metro. It's not on here. So yeah, well, Metro are so far behind on open banking, they're being penalised by the governing body. So then she tried to go in and get the statements. Could she download CSV files? Nope. She had to download PDF files. And could she download a date range? Nope. She had to go back and do it's like just phenomenally difficult. So yeah, if banks and the bigger software providers out there can't keep up, then those small businesses haven't got a chance. Like, when you're looking at your SWOT analysis for Libya, yes, you've got all this great strength and stuff, but you've got these major risks and weaknesses that you're never going to be able to overcome because you can't influence them.
No, it's not in your control, is it? Then that's the problem. And unfortunately, that means we're going to have more of these stories to come. And I think that's the point, isn't it? And it's a shame because you think back to Accountex last year. And Digital Accounting Show and all of those, and it was nice to see a new stand, a new something exciting, something there that both of us, I think we went to the stand, didn't we, just to inquire, just to at least have a chat about, see if it's useful, and that's another one bites, and it makes you wonder about this year, about who's going to be there. It's just, if we're not careful, it's just going to be the big boys left with a few other outliers out there, and then the rest are going to be outsourcing and maybe not even crypto this year because that's probably died now, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, who's going to be at Accountex that's going to be there? That's
that's going to be a big space at Accountex, surely, because they normally have quite a big stand. So I'm sure Accountex will be all over it and filling it up very quickly. But that's a interesting idea. But yeah, I think it's. Can you remember we went to, where were we? Were we Accounting Web Live? And we went up to that stand where they said, we monitor all your clients' subscriptions. So you know what you're paying for, and you can cancel things quicker and have a better track of everything. It's like, oh, cool, okay. How much is the software? Oh, it's like £200 a month. But all you're telling me is if I've got a £20 subscription that I've not used in 3 months. Like, you found a pain point, but to deliver the solution is too expensive. And, a lot of that, it's a lot of the same issue in credit control and bill payments at the moment is you found the pain point, but the solution's just too expensive.
Yeah. Or they're being hampered by the fact that you've got these workarounds that just slow your process down anyway. Like, once the data's into the platform, it's fantastic and it works wonderful, but it's getting the data in there, or getting the data from there to your bank that's going to cause a problem. So exactly, it's a shame. It's a shame. Let's move on to some more positive news though. We've got some updates into software solutions that both of us are very keen to. 100% sure if we'll be ever using these solutions, but let's talk about them anyway. So KPM themselves have released 2 new functionalities, one with the option to do pay. So you can actually have KPM Pay now. So, and for anyone who doesn't know, KPM is a software solution that pretty much does everything. It's your all-in-house solution where you can do accounts production, bookkeeping platform on there, corporation tax returns, and everything else goes with it. And they've released KPM Pay. The idea with this is that you can just get your invoices paid quicker if you're going to be using the banking. So very similar to how Cresco kind of does it in terms of open banking work, isn't it? And the way it goes through from there. And then they've re-released their Cappy sign to be able to give you an opportunity to be making signatures and everything so much simpler. again, like you just said, 2 pain points that accounting firms have: getting their invoices paid, and also having the opportunity to get things signed is a bit of a nightmare. I'm not 100% convinced, if I'm honest, if this is the right way for them to be able to kind of make people like ourselves to be, taking notice of it. I think if you are a accounting practice that are, KPM only, and there are a few out there that have bookkeeping and everything else, and that's all they do, this could be amazing for them. And adding extra functionality to the ecosystem, what can go wrong? But it is difficult, isn't it, with people like ourselves to ever change things like our sign-in solution, because that's such a integral part with our clients. It's such an area where the clients will see it more than anything else. So what's your feelings and thoughts to these kind of updates here? Was that what you're expecting their roadmap?
What's the charging structure?
So for the payment, it's 1.3% plus 20p. So competitive, but not like groundbreaking, is it? It's not,
They'd have been better
there.
off just powering it with Cresco.
Yeah, exactly right.
Which is free for UK payments, but as that would have made my ears pick up a bit more, because all they've done here is basically they've built a Stripe integration almost, haven't they? Like, or their version of Stripe. So that's not thrilling. What about the e-sign?
So the e-sign is free. It's part of the part of your ongoing subscription. That's fine. The big problem about this one, though, is that means you have to use their KPM portal or whatever their signing solution is. So you're going to have to get your clients to go in and sign from there. And I feel that's the biggest pain point. The idea is great that you could just set up a set of accounts, click one little button, and it goes out for signature. Love that idea. It's one extra step that you probably don't have to do in terms of transferring it from one platform to the next. But getting your clients to sign into another platform is probably going to be a step too far.
Definitely. I mean, so if you're using KPM as your practice management tool, then I get it. This is a good idea. But if you're not using KPM as your practice management tool, so if we look at what my guys send out for e-signing in our firm, we send out VAT returns. Well, they come off QuickBooks, go into Client Engager, and get sent out for signing. Some of our clients authorize their pay packs every week or every month. Some of our clients authorize their confirmation statements, various other things, along with accounts and tax returns. Would I know my clients wouldn't tolerate having 2 different portals. So it needs to be all or nothing. And if I've got a free portal in my practice management tool, which isn't KPM, would I then want a second portal with them? No. So for me personally, these 2 features don't really bring any value. But if you are a KPM only practice, then I can see why these 2 features, like last October, we built and launched our own e-sign and Client Engager because we saw the value and the importance of it. Back when the product launched, we had a built-in payments feature powered by Cresco because it was free. So, I mean, in theory, I suppose KPM were just catching up with the competition, aren't they? Really, but I think KPM have got bigger obstacles to overcome. Like, I took over a client's book. Well, no, we didn't even. So a client came to us with KPM bookkeeping.
Yep.
They then went VAT MTD registered. And all we were doing was the annual accounts. So I just said, we'll put it through their bridging software. That means I can pull in the data, which means we can just do annual accounts quickly and easily, thinking no manual mapping of charts of accounts or anything for the trial balance. That's going to be a nice and easy job. And it was a small charity. It's like, well, do you a bit of a favor. Biggest regret to the day. Like, the client suddenly got kicked out of their bookkeeping software. They couldn't run their own payrolls anymore. They couldn't run their own VAT returns anymore because we were linked to it, so we had to do it. Then we had to add her as a user so she could do it. So all I wanted was a link between my accounts production and her bookkeeping. I wasn't assuming control for her VAT or anything like that, but it's just built on that premise, and it's like this is a bit old school. It's a bit unthought through. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, we've had that many problems in the last 3 months with that as a solution, where the client can't do what she's meant to be able to do and could do beforehand, that we just put her on a QuickBooks license and she's loving life now. So KPM really want to focus on getting that right, rather than redoing the e-signature feature. But if you've got a KPM only practice, I imagine you know all your pain points and you know your workarounds, and you know what happens when you migrate and stuff. So you plan with it accordingly. This was the first time we've looked at this is the first time a client's ever come to us with KPM as a bookkeeping tool. And unfortunately, it's resulted in them having to move to QuickBooks so they can continue doing what they wanted to do in their own business.
Yeah, it makes sense. For me, what I find with interesting and see with this, and you see this with Accounting Manager, KPM, I think Dex were the same. Like at the beginning, when you had like their startup world and they were, a small plucky startup firm, they were very much on the premise of telling you their roadmap, and you could log in and you could see the roadmap, and they gave you the opportunity to have a dictation to what that roadmap's going to be and all that sort of stuff. And I know Client Engage is doing exactly the same at the moment, isn't it? Giving the option for the user to say, look, this is what my pain point is now. This is what I would love you to concentrate your development time into. Please, can you do that? And there's a tipping point, and I don't know what the tipping point is, but it seems to be the same story from place to place, where suddenly that roadmap disappears and it's not public knowledge. Suddenly we don't have a say as the user, and then updates are still coming, which is what we want to see. We want to see the innovation, but there are updates that don't quite make sense, and we kind of sit there going, okay, who was asking for this? Or, worse still, we had this recently, didn't we, in QuickBooks, where, suddenly their work papers was finally updated, and, we've been asking for updates for work papers for a while, but it was for this very strange feature request that we joked at the time one person wanted, or a very small proportion of the population wanted. And it's odd that it seems to be the bigger they get, the less disconnected they are with what's needed. And I feel like this is where it's frustrating, isn't it, for us as early adopters and people who really want to push and help, because I'm sure you're the same. Like, we're always putting feedback in, we're always pushing requests in, we're always putting these elements in, and what maybe we're wrong, maybe we got this completely wrong, but surely what the users are requesting and needing and have issues with, have pains point with, should be at least further down the priority than these sorts of, like, KPM Pay. To me, that doesn't seem like that was a pain point. I can't see why.
No, it's a monetizing thing to make the investors happy to see another. And e-signing is just another to make you more sticky and more likely to use the portal, which makes you more likely to use practice management, which you pay for. The point that you're talking about there is where you get investors, and investors want to see a return on their investment. And it's something we've discussed at Client Engage many a time, is we want to be very careful that we've set out that our users dictate the features that we do. Like Andy, the majority shareholder of Client Engager, wants forms done. However, 49% of our user base said, no, we want automated emails. So that's what's getting done first. Like, if you're going to start that, you need to stick with it. And the reason we're really keen to stick with it is because I've seen every single software start and fail to continue it. We're keen to carry it on, but the problem you've got is when investors get brought on, then you start losing control.
Yeah.
And the first people's opinions that you ignore when the investors come on is your users. I've yet to see a software to prove me wrong on that.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because again, there doesn't seem to be an answer for it. But if that's how it's going for that. Oh, I got it wrong. KPM compliance module is £17 per month for small firms. So it starts at £17 per month. So yeah.
And what's that do? Sorry.
That's for their Cappy sign.
£17 a month to sign documents.
Mm-hmm.
When Accountancy Manager, Client Engager, Center, Pixie, I want to say, all do it free of charge, part of the package. Again, it's monetizing.
Yep. So you're right.
It's an investor's return.
Yeah.
You're lining someone's pockets.
It's been able to show more line items on the income statement, isn't it? Unfortunately. Oh, okay. Which is a shame, but yeah, that's the way it is. We got some good comments coming in from Paul, though. Is the market really open for small developers when you're running a business? How happy would you be if your bookkeeping suddenly shut down 2 years in? And follow-up is, I worry about using Coconut and similar solutions over QuickBooks or Xero because of this. It's interesting
appetite of risk, isn't it? You've always got that bell curve of early adopters, late adopters, non-adopters type thing. So there's always going to be a group of people that are willing to take the risk. So Libya users were willing to take that risk, whereas other people might have seen Libya and gone, oh, maybe in a year's time, once they've proven themselves. Now they're going to be sat there going very smug, going, oh, well, I knew it wasn't going to work. I knew this wasn't right. So, look, blah, blah, blah. I know best. Whereas, early adopters have the ability, they have the personality that's willing to take a risk and a gamble. And in return for that, they normally get a better tool for the period of time that they're using it. There's always going to be an audience for new softwares.
For me, it all depends on what their new USP is going to be, isn't it? Like Coconut was a great example. Their USP was, it was a bank account as well as at the beginning. I know it's not now, but that's what their USP was. And that made you think. And it was very much a case of, when they can bring in this brand new way of thinking and solve a pain point or make things more simplified, then it makes sense, doesn't it? Hammock's a great example. They niched down, they found their core audience, and because of that, they've built a product that we can sing about and talk about, and we hope is going to go from strength to strength because we can see it's actually helping our clients go along. So I know there's always a worry and there's a risk of appetite there, but if it's solving a problem and solving an issue for your client, I think you've got to give that opportunity and a chance to exceed and to go. And the more users they get, the more revenue they get from us, the better chance that's going to happen, isn't it? And it's almost like our duty sometimes. I feel like, especially now we've got this mnemonic of business advisory over just pure compliance. Part of that business advisory is making sure clients are using the right systems and being part of the right ecosystem and having the right solutions that's going to help them grow and help them expand. And I feel like that's part of parcel hours. Yes, it's risky, but if we don't take that risk and we just stay in our comfort zone, we're not going to be able to be advising the best. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you aren't looking at the latest softwares yourself as an accounting firm owner or a bookkeeping firm owner, your clients are going to come to you with solutions and say, I've seen this. What do you know about it? And then you go, oh, I don't know about that. Then you look like you're out of touch with the industry. And that has a credibility issue with your client. So if you've got clients who generally have a personality type of being early adopters themselves, then you need to be on top of that market space, because they'll come to you. And if you don't know what they're bringing to you, then all of a sudden you've got clients dictating what softwares you will and won't use. You've got clients that have got more knowledge of a software than you have, and it gets you into a real nasty situation in the end.
Yeah, completely agree. Paul came back with a follow-up quickly. So do you think Coconut going the right way, effectively giving up their niche to take on general bookkeeping competition? So just so everyone's aware, Coconut first offered the opportunity to have a bank and bookkeeping solution, and now they've had to pivot away from that. From what I can tell, and QuickBooks, perfect example of this, if they can't get it right, it was more compliance. They were forced to, weren't they? Like they couldn't have the compliance in place to be able to have that USP, to have the bank account plus bookkeeping solution. And it's difficult for them. They've had to pivot. They've had to try and go a different way. Otherwise, they would have been dead in the water because they couldn't actually offer the full solution. So I feel like they're doing the right thing. We don't personally use Coconut at our firm, but I'm sure that, from what they did sell or what they have sold to us, they do have a good product there, and there are definitely niche cases for them. But I think more so with Hammock, with Coconut, it was more of a, unfortunately, the rug was pulled from under them sort of scenario, wasn't it? Unfortunately, and it's difficult because you got the likes of Starling and Revolut and stuff, which are going the other way. They had the bank account already, and now they're building a bookkeeping solution. Not very good, but they're building them, aren't they? So it's going to be a very very interesting market, I think. But if QuickBooks couldn't do it, Coconut were very, very difficult to get off the ground, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think the cost of implementing the legislation and compliance was the too big a challenge for them. So.
Yeah, 100%. We've got some great love for client engager coming through as well. So yeah, always nice to see. Sarah also explaining how it's her favorite software at the moment. That's what you want to have on your front page as Thank you for that comment. It's far better than any other practice software at the moment. It's awesome. So great to see. And finally, we get someone asking if they can have my Quest Pro. So more on that soon, as we've got videos coming about accountancy in VR coming forward. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. Yeah, I think that solves that issue. Let's quickly go through some of the other points that we had. LinkedIn has a new update being rolled out. So they've had some great updates lately, haven't they? Posting schedules or schedule poster. They said they've got video enhancements have happened over the last couple of weeks. I've not seen that, but
no,
maybe I'm wrong.
LinkedIn's algorithm, regardless of how good the video enhancement playing feature and UX is, the algorithm is not generous towards video content as it is towards picture and text. So until they fix the algorithm, I don't think video is going to be a huge part of the platform.
Rightly or wrongly, they definitely do not prioritize if it's an external link, do they? And you can understand that. Like if it's, from Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you want, even YouTube, like if you're just putting a link in there and it's embedded in, it goes nowhere. And you can understand that. The only way they can fix that, though, is if they actually make it easy for people to upload video content to the platform. Because I've sat there and it's taken 8 hours to process from it, bringing it into ready to go. And that's not a viable solution. That's not going to work. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll be more coming forward. But the big news is that, have you seen verification these days? So if you go Twitter, you get the Twitter verified one. You got Instagram verification. Microsoft have said that their LinkedIn verification is on its way. But the important thing is it's completely free. The idea here is that it's just going to make sure that people who are on the platform are legitimate. So it's good for everyone. And what they're trying to do is build it is to more of an opportunity so that you can't get spammed as easily as you can do on the platform at the moment. So they're bringing in this almost like circle approach to it. So only people who are within your circle who are verified will be able to do, reach out to you and do direct messaging and things like that, which I think is a great step for the platform. I think that's one of the only disadvantages that I've seen. Because at the end of the day, LinkedIn is one of the fastest growing social media platforms out there at the moment. It's found its groove. It's taken a while, hasn't it? But it has definitely found its groove, and it's got a real fast opportunity there in terms of being able to bring it through. And the fact it's Microsoft owned as well means that there are some other features that they've talked about in terms of Microsoft Teams and the rest of the Microsoft products coming through. That could be exciting. But I think this verification one's the one that I'm really excited about, the idea that we can, get away from that. Does that mean, would that hamper maybe, and maybe, especially if you're looking at curly whirly opportunities and everything else, do you think this verification could hamper you growing your audience going forward? Do you think that's what the trade-off might be?
No, I don't think it will hamper the growing the audience. I think what it will do is I think it gives you reassurance you're talking to real people. The amount of times I get messages saying, have you considered doing this? Would you do this? like different people trying to sell different things, and you look at the account and it's like 30 people following it, and it's only just set up 2 weeks ago. It's like, right, is it a fake account, or is it someone genuine that's only just recently come to LinkedIn? The verification process would give me some reassurance on that the person that's on that image is the person that I'm talking to, and it's not just a robot, as it were. So yeah, I mean, as you say, this is already in place in Twitter to make sure people aren't being duped into thinking they're talking to someone who they're not. It's all over dating websites and stuff. Like, to verify your profile, it makes sense. And the fact that LinkedIn are going to do it free of charge, I'll be ready with my passport the moment they allow it.
Yeah, it makes sense. You'd imagine, I mean, if the history of LinkedIn goes by, when they brought in two-factor authentication, they normally put some features behind that as an incentive, don't they? So
yeah,
it was being able to put live stream and things like that, wasn't it? Was behind the two-factor authentication before, and there was that create emoji to turn on, and they try and incentivize you to go with the new feature, the new added security, and in this case, the new verification. So I imagine there'll be some new features unlocked with it. Let's hope for that. That could be
even
cool.
If it's just search filters, like when you're searching for someone on LinkedIn or a group of people in LinkedIn, and you just want to say, yes, actually, I only want to be showing results for verified people.
Yeah.
Then that's a huge bonus.
It's interesting they didn't try and monetize this as well, because I know, I mean, Twitter's completely different. It's now run by one person, so he's definitely got an incentive to try and monetize that platform, because it historically it never has been. But I know I saw reports that the Facebook, Instagram, the Meta, they're now called, aren't they? I know that there was some really expensive plans in place to become verified on that. As it's almost like an influencer tax they were talking about. It was going to be £200, £1,000, or whatever the money was going to be per month to be able to verify your platform. So it's interesting to see they haven't opted for it, because I don't know how LinkedIn makes the main of their money, other than through the I suppose what they do have is the CVs, don't they? They have that element to it, which might probably bring money in. So I wonder.
I'd argue that the money people on Instagram are making as influencers is tens of thousands a month.
True.
So £200 a month to be able to access that market is a fantastic return on investment. Not everyone makes the same kind of money on LinkedIn, but when you're using it as the job searching tool and applications for jobs, etc., then you want to prove that you're authentic. Do you want to have to pay for that just so you can search for jobs? I think LinkedIn would be damaging their market space. So I think that's probably why they've gone down the free route, because I don't think they're looking at it as we're trying to get these people verified because they're generating tens of thousands of pounds worth of revenue a month out of this platform. It's more of this candidate who has applied for the job that is listed on LinkedIn is a genuine person type tool.
Yeah. Because I've seen reports lately where a lot of the LinkedIn is that they will put in, a job opportunity out there which actually isn't legitimate, and the only reason they put that job opportunity out there is so they can capture your information, so that then when they do have the recruiters do have a job that's suitable, then you're then on their database. So yeah, getting rid of those sort of ideas and those sort of things is best thing for the platform, isn't it? So
definitely.
Yeah, let's hope and see that that's going to go forward. Got a bit of a public service announcement. The Accounting Excellent Awards have been extended. So if you haven't quite got your deadline in to get your firm nominated, then you have until the Monday, the 15th of May. So it's quite a long extension, really. I mean, you did joke about it last week or week before, whenever it was, that you were expecting it. So it is
happens every year. They always extend by a month every year.
So maybe the news one day will be they're not extending it.
I always question: is it because they don't give? Is it because they've not had enough applications, or is it their way of stoking up another round of interest? I don't know. there'll be a marketing person out there who has told them this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Yeah.
I mean, you heard the week I've had this week, so I've not been able to get back to all my calls. I had 3 calls from someone at Accountancy Excellent Awards this week. So, yeah, I don't know if that was to tell me that the extension was imminent or what. But yeah, they're definitely pushing for it, which is good to see. Quick, just tidbits of one before we go and try and answer the question that's just been put in the chat. Xero did actually announce some extra features. So Xero has been bringing out some features. We had the bank on the not so bank update in Xero Go. We had our reports option. Can you hazard a guess of what new feature they're bringing in?
No, in Xero it'll be another report or the same report with a different format.
Nope, they have brought in a new search functionality. So their new search area has been updated. I say functionality. There's no new functionality. It's just a new lick of paint. So, yep, everyone can be excited now for Xero.
A different emoji con, haven't they, for the magnifying glass? And they've changed the font of the word search.
Exactly. So, yeah. So that's the Xero update for everyone out there. I know you're all excited when we come in with our new Xero updates. And before we go to the question, a few new updates. We've got QuickBooks new adverts and Sage new adverts. What I do like about the QuickBooks adverts, though, in fairness to them, is they are thanking accountants. I know Andy got a nice little set of chocolates and stuff through the post, didn't he? Got a nice little through. That was lovely. But yeah, I was actually walking through London. I don't know how good this is going to come up on screen, but the advert was actually appearing on one of the billboards. So I don't think that's going to come through too well. Thank you, accountants. Appearing on the billboard itself. So yeah, quite nice. I like that one a lot. I thought that was a nice little advert going through. I think that's quite a nice little campaign. And you said there was one about a plumber or something on the radio.
Yeah, there's a new. There's an advert I heard the other day on the radio from QuickBooks, which is a plumber talking about how he's got QuickBooks. His customers now pay him quicker because he remembers to invoice them. So he's now got more time to spend in his hot tub.
That's why we do our job, right?
Top tip for anyone that has got a hot tub, because this came from my plumber, is a lot of people have these inflatable hot tubs that have got a pump and a heater and an electric thing. It pumps the water around and heats the water as it goes. That's really expensive, especially with today's utility rates. Whereas if you run a hose pipe from your hot water tap indoors into your hot tub and then pump the water around, it's a lot cheaper to fill your hot tub with hot water that way than it is through the pump.
Pro
but
tip.
Be careful. There is a caveat. The water that comes out of your boiler is about 60 degrees. It's not the 40 degrees that the temperature meter on your hot tub tells you it is. So when you put your leg in, it gets a bit burnt a bit quicker. So just be careful with health and safety, but fill it from your boiler if you're using gas boilers.
There we are. Pro tip from this is it. This is what you came to ask the accountant for, really. Pro tip on how to get the most out of your hot tub. So we're loving that. That wasn't the tip I was expecting for this week, but we're impressed with it. Thank you for that, Johan. So yeah. But no, I think these adverts. One thing I'd say is, especially from the QuickBooks side, they swing and a miss this time last year, wasn't it? With that horrible advert about something screaming down the microphone and all that sort of stuff.
Followed by the swing and a miss. That was the egg advert.
I was actually going to say that was a step in the right direction. I was going to give him a benefit of doubt with that one. But no, this latest advert campaign seems to be back on track, doesn't it? I mean, thanking the account is always nice to see, isn't it? So yeah, we're definitely going to take that and definitely showing again, as we said when we were at the QuickBooks Connect, they are saying that they are putting accountants as their main push now, and they're definitely showing that as well, which is good to see. And Kirsty's looking forward to receiving the post for her arrival of sweets. I think it's sweets anyway that was in that box that Andy was sharing, so it's great to see. And then finally, we've just got a couple of minutes left. Let's just answer this one quick question. So we've had a question from Twitch. How do different countries, US and UK, tax streamers and content creators? What are some of the factors that affect how much tax you can pay as a streamer? So effectively, the most important bit of advice I can give you is to make sure that you follow the advice on the platforms themselves. So all of the platforms now are being targeted by HMRC, so Twitch, YouTube, any other streaming platform out there. We have a lot of clients who are utilizing those platforms at the moment, and a lot of clients who are getting messages from the platforms about how to stay compliant. The most important thing to remember is HMRC are, and that's from the UK point of view, HMRC, they are basically saying that the platforms are going to have joint liability with the content creator themselves. So that means the platforms are starting to take effect of that, and they're basically worried as a platform that if they don't comply with the rules and regulations, if they don't make sure that everything's done correctly, then they could be liable for whatever tax liability has been missed through not signing up at the right time and not submitting elements and all that sort of stuff that comes with it. So what you should find is each of those platforms now are starting to ask for more information. The simple way of looking at it from a UK point of view is if you earn more than £1,000 of income in any given tax year, we've just started a new tax year, so it should be nice and easy for you to follow that one. If you earn more than £1,000 from that platform, then you must be making sure that you're submitting that information to QuickBooks, to HMRC via what's called a personal tax return. But again, the platform themselves should be asking for what's called a UTR number. That UTR number is all generated by the fact that you are now submitting tax returns. So my biggest advice would be just to keep an eye on the platform, keep compliant with them. They're the ones who are also going to be looking to see when you should be VAT registered, another area that could be an issue for you. And again, the platform itself should be pushing you to provide VAT numbers, UTR numbers at the right times. And that's the best way of doing it. If you need any more tips and tricks, then do just give us an opportunity to sign up with either myself or Johann for a quick chat, because these are the sort of issues that our clients are facing all the time. But we definitely push the fact that the platforms themselves are taking responsibility for it now. Anything to add to that, Johann?
No, well covered. I think that's it. As you say, the platforms are monitoring these things themselves because the UK are very much saying it's part of their responsibility. So
exactly. But we would also recommend, I'm sure Jan would say the same, about get yourself some QuickBooks or something equivalent. Make sure that you're recording those expenses. So as a streamer, there's loads of expenses you can go for. So internet costs, telephone costs, the computer itself, the seat, desk, all that sort of stuff. Make sure you record those expenses sooner rather than later, because if you are going to have to submit a tax return, the best thing you want to do is show what expenses are relevant so that you can get them in. Exactly. I think that's it. Look at that for timing.
There we go.
28. Johann, have you got anything you want to plug, push, tell everyone else that they should be interested in?
Not huge amounts this week ahead. I'm expecting the final beta release of our email integration at Client Engager this week. So that will be getting tested this week and then go to the public next week. So keep your eyes out for that.
Exciting. I've got a lot more work to do on recertification, on the accounts production and tax return software that's coming through QuickBooks and all the training related to that. So I've got a very busy week ahead of me and running a practice as well. So exciting times had by all. I think that's it. I think that's the end of today's show. It's wrapped. Don't forget, we go live each Monday at 8:30 a.m. on pretty much every platform of choice, including, as you can see, Twitch, which is great to see that that's starting to get some traction as well. It's nice to see. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, if you have any questions you want to ask, then we've got a link provided below if you listen to us on the podcast service of your choice as well. And I'll just post one more time in the platform how to get a question submitted to us for next week. So it's been great to see you all on this Monday morning. Thanks for everyone who's been contributing live. It's been great to see that and get some questions in as well. And I'm sure we'll see you all next week. So it's a bye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Cheers, everyone. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Bye.